He may never be the one who says, "I love you" first. Not necessarily because he doesn't feel it, but because feeling that deeply can frighten him more than he knows how to admit. Somewhere in your relationship, he may already be revealing his feelings indirectly. He may be using a few simple phrases that sound casual on the surface, but carry far more meaning underneath. For an avoidant man, these small moments can be the closest thing to a love confession. Today, we're looking at 4 things an avoidant man may say when he has quietly developed deep feelings for you. These are not the dramatic gestures or intense declarations from the beginning of a relationship. These are the genuine signs that tend to escape when his guard drops for a moment. They often appear unexpectedly, sometimes late at night, or right after he has tried to create distance but realizes he cannot fully let you go. If you have heard even one of these phrases, pay attention until the end. The sequence in which they appear can sometimes reveal how emotionally close he is becoming and what may be happening beneath his distance. Being involved with an avoidant partner can feel confusing. One day he may be affectionate, attentive, and eager to connect. He texts you first, makes plans, and makes you feel important. Then suddenly, he becomes quiet. His energy changes, and you wonder if you imagined the closeness you just experienced. The distance itself is not always the hardest part to understand. What creates the confusion is when warmth suddenly appears in the middle of that distance. A kind message, a vulnerable moment, a look that says more than his words ever could. Then, just when you begin to feel close again, he retreats. But those moments are not always meaningless. Patterns often exist beneath this push and pull. Once you begin to recognize them, the relationship can become less mysterious. You may not be able to control his behavior, but you can understand what you are seeing more clearly and respond without losing yourself in the process. And before we go any further, if you are trying to understand an avoidant partner instead of constantly blaming yourself or reacting to every shift, type "seen" in the comments. Not liked, not loved, seen. Because that is what avoidant heart is here for. You are not imagining the patterns you notice, and wanting clarity does not make you too much. It simply means you want to understand what is really happening. So why can't an avoidant man simply say what he feels? For many people with avoidant tendencies, emotional closeness does not automatically feel safe. Their early experiences may have taught them that depending on others leads to disappointment, rejection, or emotional pain. Perhaps affection was inconsistent. Perhaps emotional needs were dismissed. Perhaps love felt conditional, or connection was suddenly taken away. Over time, the mind can develop a protective rule. Don't depend too much on anyone, because the people you need can also hurt you. This is not necessarily something he consciously decided to do. It can become a deeply learned protective response. His nervous system may interpret intense closeness as a threat, even when the person in front of him is safe. When someone begins to matter deeply, an internal alarm can activate, telling him to step back before he becomes vulnerable enough to be hurt. That is why some avoidant men seem open and relaxed at the beginning of a relationship, when emotional stakes feel lower, but become more distant as the bond grows stronger. It may not mean his feelings disappeared. Sometimes the opposite is true. The feelings became significant enough to activate his defenses. For years, emotional distance may have helped him feel protected and in control. Then he meets someone who slowly gets past those defenses. He may not have planned to fall deeply for you. In fact, part of him may resist it completely, because caring about someone can feel like handing them the ability to hurt him. So instead of openly admitting what he feels, those feelings can escape indirectly, in small comments and unguarded moments. And one of the first things he may say is some version of this: "I don't want to lose you." Notice what he is not saying. He is not yet saying, "I love you," or "I need you." Those words may feel far too exposing, but saying he doesn't want to lose you carries its own weight. Loss only matters when attachment exists. You cannot fear losing something that means nothing to you. For him to acknowledge that your absence would hurt means that somewhere inside, he recognizes that you have become important. It may sound simple, but for someone who has spent years convincing himself that he does not need anyone, it can be a significant crack in the emotional armor.
What makes this easy to overlook is when it usually appears.
He may not say it during a romantic evening or a moment of perfect connection. More often, it comes after tension, conflict, or when he senses that you are genuinely stepping back. Maybe you stop chasing. Maybe you become quieter. Maybe, for the first time, he realizes you might actually leave. That possibility can awaken feelings he had been trying to keep under control. And in a brief, unguarded moment, he may say, "I don't want to lose you," or "I don't want this to end." In that moment, his fear of your absence may become stronger than his fear of vulnerability, and the truth slips through. But there is something important to remember. Hearing this phrase is not the same as receiving a full commitment. It is information, not a guarantee. It can show that attachment is present, but it does not automatically mean he has learned how to maintain closeness in a healthy and consistent way. Pay attention to what follows. Does he become more consistent? Does he communicate differently? Does he take responsibility and make changes? Or does he become distant again as soon as he feels confident that you are not leaving? That cycle, fear, emotional confession, relief, and retreat, can keep people trapped for a long time. He becomes emotionally available when he fears losing you, then pulls away once the relationship feels secure again. Imagine this. He cancels plans again without much explanation. This time, you don't argue or chase after answers. You simply become quiet and take care of yourself. Maybe you give yourself the space you have been needing. You are not trying to punish him. You are simply protecting your own heart the way you have learned to. Then, after you have stepped back, a message suddenly appears. It may be brief and almost awkward. "I know I've been distant, but I don't want to lose you." That message usually doesn't come from a place of complete calm and security. It often comes from the uncomfortable realization that his usual way of coping, creating distance until everything feels safe again, might actually have consequences this time. For once, pulling away may mean losing someone who truly matters to him. His panic may be difficult for him to sit with, but it can also tell you something important. It shows you where his emotional defenses begin to break down and where his attachment becomes impossible for him to ignore. The second thing he may say is even easier to miss because it often happens when his guard is at its lowest. Sometimes it happens late at night, in a quiet moment when there are no distractions left between you. The phrase may sound like this: "I've never told anyone this before." For an avoidant man, vulnerability does not always feel romantic or freeing. It can feel frightening. Opening up means doing the very thing he may have spent years teaching himself not to do. So when he says those words before sharing a genuine fear, a painful memory, or something he normally keeps hidden, he is stepping outside the protection system he has built around himself. He is allowing you to see something he has worked hard to keep private. Avoidance often protects a person's sense of control. Many avoidant men become extremely skilled at appearing fine. They pride themselves on being independent, capable, and emotionally self-contained. They are often comfortable being the person everyone else depends on, while finding it much harder to let someone else support them. That is why it matters when he breaks that pattern with you. When he allows you to see the part of him that feels uncertain, wounded, ashamed, or afraid, he may be expressing something deeper than he can put into romantic words. In that moment, he is showing you that you feel emotionally safer to him than most people have. You can often recognize this pattern by what happens immediately afterward. Watch how he responds once he has opened up. He may suddenly become quiet. He might quickly change the subject or physically create some distance. Maybe he reaches for his phone, leaves the room, or acts as though the conversation never happened. That does not automatically mean he regrets trusting you. Often, what feels uncomfortable is the exposure itself. His nervous system is trying to rebuild the distance that vulnerability temporarily removed. This is why pushing too hard in that moment can sometimes make him shut down. If you immediately demand more details, more conversation, or more emotional closeness than he can tolerate, his defenses may rise again. But if you remain calm and simply receive what he shared without turning the moment into something overwhelming, you can create a different experience for him. You show him that being honest and being known does not automatically lead to criticism, rejection, or punishment. And this is where many people misunderstand vulnerability. A man may share something deeply personal and make you feel closer than ever, but one vulnerable conversation does not automatically mean he is suddenly ready for a healthy, consistent relationship. Sometimes he opens up once, then disappears emotionally for days or weeks because he feels exposed and tries to regain control by pulling back even further. Real growth is not measured only by whether he can be vulnerable once. It is shown by whether he can tolerate that vulnerability afterward without punishing himself, shutting you out, or making you pay for seeing behind his walls. Maybe you know this kind of moment. It is late, the room is quiet, you are lying beside each other without saying much, and suddenly he begins talking about something from his past that he has clearly carried alone for a long time. His voice becomes softer. There is uncertainty in the way he speaks, and when he finishes, there may be a silence that feels almost like he is waiting to find out what you will do with what he just gave you. If you respond gently, something as simple as, "Thank you for trusting me with that," without forcing him into an emotional conversation he is not prepared to have, you give him an important experience. You show him that honesty with you can be safe. That kind of safety can mean far more than a perfectly planned romantic gesture. Now let's move to the third phrase. This one is often misunderstood because on the surface it sounds simple. But when an avoidant man says it sincerely, it can reveal a level of attachment that is difficult for him to express directly. He might say, "You don't have to chase me. I'm not going anywhere." Yes, it is reassurance. But what makes it meaningful is when he offers that reassurance without being forced into it. Avoidant people often prefer to avoid emotionally intense conversations about commitment, relationships, and the future. Direct reassurance requires them to acknowledge the bond openly, which can be uncomfortable for someone whose instincts usually tell him to keep emotional distance. So if he brings up reassurance on his own, without an argument, without you begging for clarity, and without being pushed into a corner, it is worth paying attention to. Perhaps he noticed something had changed in you. Maybe you stopped being the first one to text. Maybe you stopped asking about plans. Or perhaps you simply began protecting your heart after becoming tired of inconsistency. And instead of feeling relieved by the extra space, he felt something else. He noticed your absence. He felt the discomfort of realizing that someone important might slowly be slipping away. That feeling may be what finally pushes him to say what he would normally keep to himself. You don't have to chase me. I'm not going anywhere. But this is where you need to stay grounded. Those words can be heartfelt, but they can also become a way of calming the situation without creating real change. The difference becomes clear afterward. Does he become more consistent in the following weeks? Does he reach out, follow through, and show up differently? Or does he give you just enough reassurance to stop you from leaving, then return to the same cycle of emotional distance once he feels safe again? Anyone can say the right thing when they are afraid of losing someone. What truly matters is what happens after the fear settles. Real reassurance is not only spoken, it becomes visible through consistency. Stability is the part that proves whether those words came from genuine intention or were simply meant to keep you from walking away. I can also rewrite the next part of the script in the same natural, avoidant heart voice and style. There is another version of this reassurance that can be even more meaningful because it happens before you have reached the point of pulling away. It comes almost proactively. Maybe you casually mention that lately you have been uncertain about where you stand. And instead of becoming defensive, changing the subject, or creating more distance, he pauses and says something like, "You don't have to question whether I'm here. You don't need to chase me." When reassurance comes before a crisis instead of only appearing after one, it can suggest something important. He may be starting to recognize your feelings before they turn into conflict. Rather than simply reacting to the damage after it happens, he is beginning to understand the impact his behavior can have. That does not mean everything is suddenly healed, but it can be a sign of greater emotional awareness. And now we come to the fourth phrase. When this one is genuine, it can be especially revealing because it exposes something he may not be able to control as easily as his actions. It sounds something like, "I thought about you today, even though I was trying not to." That last part changes everything. Most people can easily say, "I was thinking about you." It is a warm and uncomplicated thing to admit. But when an avoidant man admits that he thought about you despite trying not to, he is revealing an inner struggle that he would normally keep hidden. Part of him may have tried to push the thoughts away. He may have buried himself in work, distractions, routines, or distance. He may have tried to convince himself not to focus on you so much. But somehow, you still found your way into his thoughts. That matters because avoidant attachment is not always about having no feelings. Often, it is about managing, minimizing, or suppressing feelings that become overwhelming. Behind emotional distance, there can still be longing and attachment that a person does not know how to express comfortably. When he admits that you remained on his mind despite his resistance, he may be acknowledging that his feelings have grown beyond the point where his usual defenses can completely contain them. Pay attention to how he says it. Does he sound slightly embarrassed? Does he laugh it off or seem almost frustrated with himself for admitting it? As strange as it may sound, that awkwardness can sometimes make the moment feel more genuine. Real vulnerability from someone who is used to hiding their emotions is rarely perfectly polished. It can come out clumsily, reluctantly, or at a moment when they did not intend to reveal quite so much. Someone can always say the right words to create an impression, but genuine emotional breakthroughs often look imperfect because the person experiencing them is still trying to understand what they feel.
This is one reason this phrase may appear later than the others. By this point, the attachment may have become difficult for him to ignore. He can still choose whether to call, text, share his feelings, or pull away. But he may find that he cannot completely control the fact that you matter to him or that thoughts of you continue to appear. That involuntary quality is what can make this admission so revealing. So now you have all 4 signs. I don't want to lose you. I've never told anyone this before. You don't have to chase me. I'm not going anywhere. And I thought about you today, even though I was trying not to. On their own, each phrase can represent a small opening in his emotional defenses. But if several of them begin appearing within a relatively short period, they may suggest that his feelings have become harder for him to keep at a distance. But this is the part I really need you to understand, because this is where many people become trapped in relationships that never truly move forward. These words are not the destination. They can be evidence of genuine feelings, but feelings are not the same thing as emotional readiness. An avoidant man can care deeply about you and still struggle to give you the consistency and security you deserve. Love and capacity are not the same thing, and confusing the two can keep you waiting for potential instead of looking honestly at reality. What determines whether a relationship can actually grow is not simply how deeply he feels. It is whether he is willing to do the difficult work of staying emotionally present when closeness becomes uncomfortable. That can mean remaining engaged during difficult conversations instead of disappearing emotionally. It can mean offering reassurance before things reach a breaking point. It can mean choosing vulnerability repeatedly, not only during one unexpected late-night conversation, but as something he slowly learns to practice. If these words only appear when he is afraid, after an argument, after a period of distance, or when he senses that you might leave, and then nothing changes in his everyday behavior, you may be seeing attachment without real growth. And attachment without growth can keep you stuck in a repeating cycle instead of helping you build a healthy relationship. This is often where anxious and avoidant patterns can become deeply intertwined. If you recognize yourself here, I want you to hear this without judgment. If you feel closest to him immediately after he has pulled away and then returned, if the fear of losing him makes the reunion feel especially intense or meaningful, it may be worth asking whether that cycle itself has started to feel like love. One person creates distance, the other feels compelled to pursue. Then reassurance finally arrives, bringing enormous relief. In that moment, the relief can feel like profound connection. Neither person necessarily chooses this consciously, but seeing the pattern gives you the opportunity to choose something different. And something calmer does not mean something less passionate. It means something you can actually sustain. You are allowed to want more than occasional moments of vulnerability. You are allowed to want consistency along with emotional confessions. Understanding these 4 phrases does not mean you have to wait forever while someone decides whether they are ready to meet you emotionally. It simply gives you language for something you may have already sensed. His feelings can be real, even when his behavior has not yet become consistent enough to support those feelings. What you do with that information is your decision. You may choose to be patient. You may set stronger boundaries. You may decide that you need more consistency before giving any more of yourself. All of those choices are valid. And while you are trying to understand his attachment patterns, do not forget to look inward as well. Ask yourself whether your sense of worth has become connected to the hope that one day he will finally love you exactly the way you need to be loved. Healing is not only about decoding him.
It is also about recognizing your own habits. Maybe you minimize your needs to avoid upsetting him. Maybe you treat small moments of openness as promises of a future he has not actually built. Maybe you stay silent about your own hurt because you are afraid that expressing it will push him away. But your needs matter too. You are allowed to ask for consistency. You are allowed to want emotional safety. You are not asking for too much simply because someone else finds closeness difficult. A relationship cannot be truly balanced if only one person's fears are constantly being protected, while the other person's needs are repeatedly pushed aside, no matter how much love may exist underneath it all.
If this helped you see the man in your life with a little more clarity, then that is exactly why Avoidant Heart exists. Here, we explore the psychology behind avoidant attachment, the patterns, the unspoken emotions, and the subtle behaviors that can leave you feeling confused, so you can understand what is happening without losing yourself in anxiety. If you want more conversations like this, subscribe to Avoidant Heart. Together, we can make sense of the silence, mixed signals, and emotional walls, and learn how to respond with clarity while still protecting your own heart. And before you leave, tell me in the comments, which of these 4 phrases have you heard? Was it the fear of losing you, the deeply personal confession, the reassurance you did not have to ask for, or the admission that he could not stop thinking about you? Your experience may be exactly what someone else needs to read today. Because even when this journey feels lonely, you are not nearly as alone as you think.